Welcome to Wellness Quarters, where wellness lives. My name is Gayle Nowak. I'm your host, Wellness for All expert leader, and communication and emotional wellness coach. The Wellness Universe is thrilled to bring you this interview series as part of our Wellness for All programming because we believe that happy, healthy, and healed humans lead to peace globally. Join us here each month for a 15-minute session with our members as they offer insights, practical tools, and actionable advice to enhance your well-being. This pay what you can donation-based program is supported by generous viewers like you. If you'd like to donate, you can do that now, after we're done, or anytime in the future using the link that I'll post in the chat. And a special thanks to everyone who has already donated. And if you'd like to reach out to me about the show, my contact details will be in the chat as well. At the end of the show, you'll see a pop-up to leave a rating and review, and we're so grateful for yours because it helps us reach more people on their wellness journey. Today, we're speaking with Debbie Prediger about whole person wellness meets leadership. Debbie is an empowerment strategist, visibility mentor, and senior partner with the Wellness Universe. She helps heart-centered entrepreneurs and leaders align their message, their mission, and their momentum so they can be seen, supported, and celebrated. After experiencing burnout despite outward success, Debbie created the SHINE framework to help others lead from nourishment and cultivate clarity, confidence, and joy. She's also a best-selling author, speaker, and founder of the Be Extraordinary Women's Network and the Empowering You community. Welcome, Debbie.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. This is so much fun, and I just love what you're doing here.
Yeah, I love having these conversations with the Wellness Universe members, and I always learn so much, and hopefully those who are tuning in learn a lot too. And I know we have similar passions and similar focuses in our business, and I really want to start with this mention in the bio about experiencing burnout despite things looking successful externally, because I think that that's something that a lot of leaders and a lot of entrepreneurs experience. I know that that was true for me. So can you share a little bit about what that looked like for you and how that brought you into this work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry that you went through that. But honestly, you're true. You're right. Many leaders, I would almost say 95%, tell me that that is why they developed a framework that was more sustainable. And so I was that person that was the people pleaser, do it all. It goes back to a lot of trauma, but really, honestly, when I recognized that I was living in survival mode versus really choosing how my life was going, I was in freeze and just like gas full on and the brakes on at the same time, and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Like, what is wrong with me? Which that statement in itself is somebody that's burnt out. What is wrong with me versus what's wrong with the situation here? Like, where do I get energy and how does that fulfill? But my body completely shut down. And I actually came from that place of a person who just had headaches and grinding my teeth and showing up with tense shoulders and stuff, to a point that literally I couldn't hold my head up. My neck, I had no energy in my neck. I started to fall down all the time, different things. And my body had been speaking to me for years, but it finally just told me enough is enough. They checked me for brain tumors and MS and all sorts of different things, and then told me it was all in my head. And I said, well, if it is, then I have to figure it out because I can't live this way. And so that took me down a completely different journey. Before that, I was a nurse. Before that, I was a daughter that tried to do everything. Before that, I was a child that wanted to please everybody. So you can see the pattern just progressed until I finally couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that's got to be scary to be experiencing, falling down and not being able to hold your head up, and then to have the doctor say, it's all in your head, which, I think it sounds like now that lands maybe a little bit differently than at the time. So what happened as a result of that? You said it led you down a different path. So
you have to
first step in that path?
Yeah. So as a little girl, I was in grade 1. I ended up in the hospital for a full year. So I sat on the nurse's knee and watched them do all the thing. And I wanted to be a nurse. So that was my pathway. That was my passion. And then as a system that I absolutely believed everything about failed me when they couldn't. They did the tests. They couldn't figure it out. They did all this. So from the scientific background of like, let's figure out what's wrong, I had to change. And that's when I found energy work. That's when I found that there is an emotional pain and a physical pain. Emotional pain had been there my whole life. I didn't know what it was and I ignored it. So stuff it down, do more, be more. All the things finally led to the physical pain that was showing up on the outside that they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And if a doctor can't figure it out, their first instinct is you're making it up. And I knew that I had ignored it long enough that it definitely wasn't me getting attention because I was hoping it went away. It was my body screaming at me and telling me. So I had to learn. I went down deep into energy work. What's the body really saying? What is emotional pain? What is spiritual pain? How do I release those when they're stuck in my body because I'd been jamming and stuffing for so many years? And what does it actually feel like to feel something and not be running away from that emotion and that feeling?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I relate to so much of this story. And I'm sure a lot of the clients that you work with too probably relate to this and those who are tuning in. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how leaders, you named people pleasing, sort of being the parentified child, the caregiver as an adult in nursing. So a lot of, especially heart-centered leaders, right? We pour so much into others, often at our own expense, partly because maybe that's the environment we grew up in, or that's how we're conditioned. So how do you help them reconnect with even naming those emotions or connecting with their body or honoring what they're experiencing?
Yeah, so that's been the pathway, right? And that's what led me. And I think often people like me, because we're kind of high achievers, is we're looking for the answers. So I got many different modalities. I got many different, like I said, I geeked out on the brain and the gut connection, the emotional thing. I got certified in all the things. But it wasn't until later when I was working with clients that I seen everything go back to what I now call the SHINE framework. It was that self-discovery, self-love. Who am I really as a foundation? Answering those questions are pivotal, whether you're a leader or whether you're just a normal human being that wants to reconnect to self. Our life is fulfilled when we know who we are and what brings us joy. So really going back into that. The H is for healing. It doesn't matter where you are on your leadership journey, there's healing to do, because we bring old stories and patterns and habits and all the things with us. But again, it's through awareness, self-love, that we go deeper into the healing. And then as we're healing, our intuition is now spot on, right? When you're in that space where you're in homeostasis, where everything's working for you, you don't have to overwhelm and go through the loops of what's wrong, what's happened, how do I do this? Exhaustion comes in. But intuition is like you have a knowing and you trust it. But you can't do that if you're fighting a wound or you're bleeding, because now you're in survival mode. So the N is for nourishment and nourishing. Our mind, body, and soul needs to be fed at all times. It needs to be nourished. And how do you do that? Well, every person, when they tap into the truth, there is something that brings them joy. There's something that fills their cup up versus empties it. How are you bringing more energy and flow into your world? How are you being nourished? Not just nourishing other people, not just nurturing other people, not just taking care of others, but how are you part of that equation? And then E is kind of where I started when I realized what was going on. There was two things that come into my mind: energy and empowerment. So where can I come from that empowered state? And how am I inviting more life force energy in? But how can I come from that empowered state to make decisions, to take aligned actions, to make bigger connections, connection to self, connection to each other, and connection to our mission. How is that all part of this equation? And shine is shine your unique light. Be more of who you are, not what you do. It is so simple that it took me a while to realize and name the framework, because I'd been using it and doing this so naturally that it wasn't until somebody kind of boxed me into a corner and said, so what is your framework? And I'm like, oh my God, it's shine. It's shine your unique light. And when you have a bigger capacity for more light in you, more light will come out from you. And honestly, that's what marketing and attraction is shine your own light so people can find you.
100%. I'm with you on that. And I love how you say that this framework helps leaders go from overwhelm to overflow. And what I'm hearing as you walked us through what shine stands for and a little bit about what that looks like, it's like the sometimes I liken it to clearing the drains, right? The healing piece in particular is kind of like taking all the gunk out and clearing the drain so that that life force energy can flow through you and nourish you, and you're inner sourced, and you're now moving out of that over caretaking, over giving, and giving from the overflow. So I love that you name that shift from the overwhelm to the overflow, because it feels very different.
Completely. And really that's what I recognized is, so where are my clients at and where do they want to go? And what's the gap in between? And when you recognize the gap, you realize a lot of it is mindset. But I already told you earlier that we can want something, we can decide something, we can know something, and our body still wants to stay safe. So how do we shift and release at the same time? And what I've created in the shine work is an affinity symbol. It literally continues on as you evolve and as you grow through this leadership. The more you're being asked to lead, the more light comes in, the more ability for you to recognize who you are and who you're here to mentor and serve and be a part of. And I really do feel like it's part of the divine plan. I just am fulfilling it in my own words and inviting other mentors into it. So the other thing is that I'll mention right now quickly is that in my ecosystem of the Shine membership is I bring mentors in, and then I help them understand and teach the Shine framework through their own life's experiences. So if we have somebody that's a nutritionist, she speaks maybe more about nourishing, but she does also know that in order to eat the right foods, you're healing your gut, but you also have to heal yourself enough to do it. Because some people know they should eat well and go to the gym, but they really have almost a worthiness thing. So there's a lot of things that come into effect, but every one of my mentors teaches it through their own lens. And then we all grow as we expand. What does the Shine framework really mean?
Beautiful. And I love that you've got boots on the ground, boots on the ground who are carrying this mission and I would even dare to say movement forward so that more leaders can shine in their brilliance and allow in more light. And boy, do we need that.
Yeah. And
more than anything right now.
Yeah. And thank you for recognizing that, because for a long time, I have heard it come through me and then finally claimed it and embodied it, is that I truly am the leader of leaders. And when I first heard that, I'm like, Debbie, how dare you say that? That just feels so egotistic. And yet it was like so true in my soul. And that's part of that self-discovery. Who am I really? And what I see it as now is that I couldn't possibly reach all the people. And so even though I'm very intuitive and I can hear the things and see the things and have the bigger vision, I needed those people with me to reach their people. So together we're reaching globally. And that has been an amazing journey so far, and we're only just beginning.
I love it. I love it. And it is a big vision and it's a big mission. And I totally hear you about
Mm-hmm.
getting those messages like that and having the ooh, what? Are you serious? Are you serious moment? Or what does that mean? Or could I possibly do that? Right. And I feel like that's also just a great opportunity to go back into your framework and, okay, maybe there's some healing around this, or at least some transformation around, okay, what's coming up for me, and staying curious in that versus shutting it down or judging it or being back in that survival mode.
Yeah, and I'm smiling ear to ear because nothing lights me up more than somebody that gets this so quickly as you have. Because I think we're so similar. Not just me and you, me and everybody, you and everybody. And when we can see the similarities and that there is a unified mission that we're all being called forward into, now it's about visibility. Now it's about feeling safe. Now it's about providing containers that make sure that people feel seen and heard and valued, and expanding that so there's a ripple effect. And that's really what we're all doing in our own way. I just happen to be that person that took your mission and someone else's mission and everybody and combined it so that now we can call ourselves leaders, mentors, and guides. And we're working for those people that aren't quite where we are yet. They're still waiting for somebody that they can look up to and say, show me the way. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Debbie, for those who are tuning in and either catching the replay, Mary, I see you. Thank you for joining us live today. Mary says, thank you for sharing your story, Debbie. How can people learn more about Shine, the membership, working with you? What's the best way for folks to connect with you?
Well, I'll drop some links in the chat, but first and foremost, everybody gets free access to my Shine Circle for 7 days. So there's no risk for you to come in and witness the mentors and see our philosophy and hang in a community that is absolutely phenomenal. I just left a connect call that we do once a month, and it's public facing, it's free to everybody. And my mission there is to connect leaders with other leaders. But inside of our circle, there is a leadership path. You come in as a member, you learn what Shine stands for. And then if you want to learn more about taking your offer and connecting it with my offer, there's a leadership path and there's other things that can happen. But you know what the best part of this is that we're all growing together and we're all connecting our missions, our messages, the thing that I'm not anything special. But I got a divine calling. I got whispers in my ear, and I'm fulfilling that. And I want every person to fulfill that in their own way. But I believe that we're being called to do it together. And that's when we're really going to really gain the momentum and the speed in when we can really come together as one. So I'll drop all the links in there for people to join. And then the Shine framework is actually a course that is absolutely free. And my mentors come into that course and I teach the philosophy, and then each mentor puts their own spin on it, not just in their mentorship session, but in a group together so that you can start to understand and see yourself in that framework. And that, I think, is where the power really is.
I love that. I love that the mentors can come in and bring their own magic and make it their own, but they have this framework, this structure to help them facilitate whatever is their mission and their transformation that they deliver. So beautiful. I see that those are in the chat. And Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing time and space and energy with us today. Thanks, Mary, for being here live. Thanks to everyone who's watching the replay. We'd love to see you for our next scheduled show on Wednesday, February 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with Jean Voice Dart, who will be sharing about a very special upcoming event called Take My Hand, Inspiring Hope. Until then, be well, everyone.